Well, hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Brand Builder Show. It's a privilege and an honor to have my good friend and business partner on the show today, Claire. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
No, it's my pleasure. We're going to dig into a topic that we've grown to love over the last sort of 6 months or so, and that is the topic of search engine optimization. We have really started to try and build out a lot more of this in our business because we just see it as something that really does compound over time. You know, you can launch products, you can run marketing campaigns, but so often what we do in e-commerce, it's sort of here today, gone tomorrow. If the campaign fizzles out, you need to start it all up again. Whereas SEO is just something that just builds layer upon layer. And so, we're excited about what the next kind of months and years hold for this approach in our business. But what we're going to do today is we're going to sort of break it down. And Claire is a genius in her own right. And I have been somewhat involved in it as well, on that learning journey. And so I thought today it would be good for us just to have a bit of a conversation. That's how I managed to persuade Claire to come on the show, as if I promised to have a contribute as well. So it's not just going to be Q&A as such, but we're going to have a good chat about it. And the plan, Claire, right, is we're going to go through sort of from beginning to end. Talk about the entire process that we've been going on. And, as we said before we started to record, we're definitely not experts in the subject matter, still very much in the learning phase, but we do want to share with people, what we're doing along the journey. But just before we do dive into it, Claire, just give us a bit of a, background onto some of the things that we have been doing, why we've been doing it. Just, your kind of intro thoughts on SEO and why hopefully you're enjoying it.
Yeah, I think the important thing is we always went into this with the right mindset. I think that's really important because SEO is just this huge, it's this beast that you think, how do I tackle this as a business owner? I know this is important. I don't even know where to get started. And probably there are people watching or listening and who can relate to that. And that's definitely something that you obviously have a background in business. This is something that is newer for me in the last couple of years, that I can definitely relate to that feeling. And so I think that's something that's been really key, is just to go into this thinking this is a long game. Like you were saying, you might start to see a little bit of some metrics moving in the right direction. In the short term, you might have to wait quite a long time before you start to see anything particularly exciting, 6 months, a year. Within a few years, even, you might be looking back and thinking, okay, I can really see how this work that I put in 2 years ago is paying off now. But it's one of those things that, unlike paid ads, for example, you can't necessarily show or prove on paper how a lot of the work that you're doing is directly equating to, dollars made or pounds made or whatever. But you can see enough in the positive trends, engagement on social media, traffic to your site, building your email list, all of these things that we know are important for our businesses. You can see enough of that in the short term, I think, to keep you excited about it. And that's what's happened really, that I've found creating content, being able to see, okay, I created that 2 months ago and I can see that's one of our top pages now. It's something I wrote back just a couple of months ago. Super easy to write, really straightforward, using the strategy that we're going to talk about today. And I can't show you, this is how many pounds we've made off it. But I can show you these are all the metrics that are moving in the right direction. So that's the thing, really. I think just go into it with the right mindset, and you will, if you do the right things, it will pay off.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and we'll talk through a bit of our process, because as you say, it's not affected the bottom line really much at all yet, but it's really starting to gain traction in terms of traffic, which eyeballs are everything, obviously, in e-commerce. And a couple of weeks ago, we had a record traffic day, over 100 visits in a day, and over half, I think even 70-80% some days of our traffic is coming from Google search. It's people searching for things that are related to our niche and are coming to our website looking at that stuff. So there's some real good progress happening there, and in time that will really translate into pounds and dollars, for reasons which, like I say, we'll get into our strategy and why we're taking the approach we are. But to start with it, let's sort of set some foundations in terms of SEO, search engine optimization. A lot of people listening will be Amazon sellers. They get a lot of their revenue coming in through Amazon. Why, they may be asking, why even bother with SEO? What is even the point of SEO, and what has our mindset been? As primarily our revenue is coming from Amazon, but we're still putting this time into SEO. Why are we doing that?
Well, again, I think it comes down to the long game. What do you want to do? Do you want to try and make as much money as quick as possible in the short term, and or do you want to build something that's really going to last? And I know your whole thing, Ben, and something that we share is wanting to build a brand that is for the future, that lasts, that has value, that isn't just based on one revenue source. That can stand on its own 2 feet. And if there are people listening or watching and they're interested in, maybe I'd love to start a business, grow it, and scale it and then sell it, then these are the kinds of things you need to be considering. What's going to add value to your brand that is going to separate you from all of the other, your competitors that are just selling on Amazon or just selling on whatever marketplace it is. So I think that's been a big part of it for us, is knowing, okay, we know this isn't going to make us a ton of money in the short term, but this is going to pay off to strengthen our brand across the board, to increase our sources of revenue, so that we're not reliant on one thing, and that we are a more rounded and more interesting brand. If we want to go on to sell whatever we want to do, we've got those options available to us to do that.
Yeah, defo. And I think that, SEO for me, the more I've looked at it, is just such a huge opportunity in e-commerce. And that might seem a bit sort of outdated information, because SEO has been around for a long time. But I think people just either don't understand it, or can't be bothered, or don't have the patience to wait, because, we have come out of an era in e-commerce where you could turn on Facebook ads and get sales the same day. There's such a quick feedback loop that isn't there for SEO. So there's lots of people that ignore it. I did an interview recently on the Privy podcast talking about our kind of thoughts with SEO and what we're up to. And when that was kind of publicized, I had some people sort of message, based on that, saying, like, oh, I'm doing like X million in revenue, but I've never even bothered with search engine optimization. I'm just like, that just proves the point. There is so much opportunity here, because look at, I've got this like plugin now that comes in at the top of my Chrome, and when I go on any website, it shows me the kind of the SEO vital metrics for that. And pretty much every e-commerce brand I go onto is so weak on SEO. It just means there's so much opportunity out there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that you're looking at it the wrong way around. If you're thinking, okay, well, I've got away with it so far. Okay, you've got away with it. What could you be doing if you're actually starting to maximize this opportunity? And I think as well, it's for smaller businesses, if you're running a lot of this yourself from your own home, and maybe you can't outsource very much, you might feel like, I just don't have time for this. It's too big of something to start. I think people feel like, if I'm going to start doing stuff on my website, it's a massive job, a huge commitment. I don't want to waste my time. But hopefully what we're going to share today is going to show people that actually there are simple things you can do that work, are really doable. You don't have to be an amazing writer. You don't have to be some kind of tech guru, and you don't have to put in hours and hours and hours or spend loads of money on it either. But these are things that really can pay off, even if you are just starting out and your website's getting basically no hits. Yeah,
definitely. Now, well, let's move on to some practicals then. Like you say, let's talk about how people can get started with this at a very beginner, user-friendly way, to bring us right back to the beginning then. For anybody that's listening wondering, well, what exactly is SEO, search engine optimization? Could you talk to us about, could you give us a sentence that really kind of describes your understanding of search, what we're trying to achieve when we talk about SEO, what we're trying to achieve here?
Yeah, I think you said it earlier. It's eyeballs. It's people seeing what you have to offer. It's people finding out about you. I think when we put so much effort into what we do, we can kind of just assume that people are going to somehow know or care and find out about us. And that's just not the case. We have to play the game. And so we have to show, search engines, Google. I'm probably going to say Google a lot, but let's just say I mean whichever search engine is in question. But you have to show Google that you are important, that you provide value, that you're something that is worth showing people. And so SEO is all about using the right strategies to show that, in order that you can then have eyeballs on what you are doing, and have the opportunity to present what you have to offer.
Yeah, because Google's business model, there are other search engines out there, but let's face it, Google is 95% plus of any website's
Right.
traffic. Their business model is predicated on having good search results. That's everything. They want people to keep coming back and finding answers when they come to Google, and so they are continually updating their algorithm and looking for new content that better answers and serves that user intent. So if someone comes and searches for something, Google want them to find their answer and not have to go away to another search engine to find that answer, because the more eyeballs they have on Google, the more ad units they can sell, the more revenue they can make. They're a business, right? So that's why good content is going to win. And that's why for us, when we talk about the keys to solid SEO, what we're trying to build the foundations on, it really is two things. It's content and it's links. Content in the form of pages, information is what Google is going to position in the search results, and then links or backlinks, they might be known as, you might hear them referred to as backlinks, are when another website links back to a piece of your content. And it actually gives Google a sign. It shows Google that you should be taken seriously, because if someone else is referencing your content, it starts to grow its authority, and that is when your content can really grow in search results. And so, for us, Claire, that's what we've been doing. Hey, is mainly focusing on the first one, is content, and it doesn't need to be crazy. You've been doing maybe one article a week for the last few months.
Yeah, roughly.
And so nothing too crazy, but it's actually the strategy, which we'll get into in terms of research in a moment, that really has helped pick up our traffic and start to see real momentum. And then links, like that's quite a bit more of an advanced topic, and it's definitely something we can talk about in the future. We are preparing a lot more content inside Brand Builder University for the topic of SEO, and also got a checklist that we're going to be producing, which will be, I'm hoping, available by the time this episode airs. And so we'll have that out to you. But really is just that the link side of it is a bit more of an advanced topic, but essentially is producing content that's worthy of another website finding it in search results and linking back to you when they're writing a piece themselves. So in terms of how we're taking that understanding that it's good content that's going to win the game, what's the approach we're taking in terms of building out good content for our website?
So I think that it's really about finding out what people are actually interested in. And you can get very easily demotivated when you see that nobody's finding and reading what you have to say. If you don't take the time to find out what people actually want to know, and don't just assume that either. And not just that, but what do they want to know that you can actually tell them, because you've got some chance of getting ranking highly enough for people to see what the information is that you have to share. And so we've tried to really provide informational content and try to niche down quite a lot as well, because obviously the more niche something is, in general, the less competition you're going to have and the easier it's going to be for you to rank. But it's also going to be easier for you to create content around that, because you've got such clear parameters of what to include. You'll be able to clearly see what your competitors, other pages that you'll be competing against, are sharing, the quality of the content they're putting out, and it'll be easier for you to see from that research how you can compete with that, than if it's very general topics that could be interpreted in a number of ways. So we're doing how can I do this, and even I love questions. Can I do this? You could write a whole 1,500 or 2,000 words on the answer to a question like, I don't know, let's say makeup brushes. Can I use dish soap to clean my makeup brushes? You could do a whole ton of content around that. And that is going to, obviously, the more niche it is as well, that's going to show Google that you are a site with authority in that particular area, rather than trying to be a kind of one size fits all catch-all and include a ton of different stuff that's going to be difficult for you to show that you have authority about.
Yeah, definitely. And in terms of our approach, because obviously e-commerce, ranking product pages, money pages, as they can be called, on Google is difficult, because obviously that is higher competition. There's a direct, benefit for ranking those kind of pages and those kind of keywords, those buying intent keywords. And so we haven't really targeted any of those to begin with. We've really focused on that informational content. Someone's going to be searching if they are, they're related to our products, not necessarily necessarily about our products all the time, but we are starting to, sprinkle some more how-tos or guides for our products in there as well. I don't know, probably on a 3-to-1-ish ratio,
Yeah.
informational to product based, because what we're doing right now is going after the traffic. And that is what I would
Yeah.
suggest to any new, brand owner that wants to take SEO seriously, is go after the informational stuff first, because that's going to help build traffic. In time, it's going to attract links to our website. It's going to grow the authority of our website. And as the authority grows, so does our the possibility of us ranking for higher competition keywords like, product related, buying related keywords. So then we can, start to rank for some of those pages a little bit more. So that's kind of been our approach, which is why we're not stressed about the fact that it's, not grown our revenue by 100x overnight, right? It's about the long play, building this solid foundation now. And, you mentioned it about in terms of finding content that people are actually interested in. I think this for us was one of the biggest game changers. I have been, dabbling in different formats with e-commerce since around 2015, 2016. And I have never taken SEO seriously. I've never taken blogging seriously. I've always considered blogging as a waste of time, because like, who actually cares about what you're doing in your business? Because that's, I think, what most business owners think a blog is to update your audience on the progress of your business. But the reality is, let's be honest, and unless you are a massive brand, nobody really cares what you're doing in the business. Or we just did this work trip, or we're creating this product in the future. Like, there's a place for that, maybe to some degree, but what most people do is they just post updates, they just put content up that they haven't even researched. But what changed the game for us was actually taking keyword research, topic research seriously, and finding these questions that people were actually asking, where the answers weren't as good or weren't even there perhaps on Google, which presented us with opportunities. Claire, you talk to us about your kind of, because you've done all of the keyword research for the stuff on our toy site, and you have looked at that and analyzed that and found some amazing opportunities. Like, one post gets us 20-30 hits a day. It's crazy, right? And we would never have known that if we hadn't taken time to do this keyword research. So talk to us a little bit about your process with topical research.
So just before I go into that, I would just wanted to say as well that you can do product specific content where you can provide value without it having to be a sales pitch. And so you can, I would just say that when you were saying that we've been doing maybe 3-to-1 of kind of general stuff that we think our demographic, our target market are interested in, and then one would be product specific. That is we're still going through the same keyword research process for the product specific content as well. We're finding out, what do people want to know when it comes to that product? And let's say you find out, if I just use makeup brushes as an example again, let's say you find out that the best makeup brushes is a keyword that you could maybe rank for. Okay, in reality, that's probably super high competition, but let's just say it's low competition. Or you find it phrased in a way that's low competition. You think, okay, this is low keyword difficulty, I could do something with this. And you sell makeup brushes. You could go down the route of doing a whole sales pitch about why yours is one of the best makeup brushes, and it's got all these features. Or you could say, no, I'm actually going to provide some value, and I'm going to be honest and say, look, we sell this. Look, here's where you can buy it. Here's some internal links. Here's, we're obviously going to make sure that everything we talk about in this blog post are makeup brushes actually tick those boxes. But we're going to create this really useful guide, the ultimate guide on how to make sure that you buy the best makeup brush for you. And we're going to use all these keywords, and we're going to target it, and we're going to hit it really, really well. You're going to be providing something of value. People aren't going to be going in and realizing that you're trying to sell to them straight away, get annoyed, and then get straight back at your site, which is going to give you awful bounce rates. You are going to be giving them something of value where they'll say, okay, I know they sell this. I get how these things work. And I know they're hoping that maybe I'll buy theirs. But the information they're giving me is actually really helpful and in supporting me in making an informed decision as a consumer. So I would just say, even when you are doing product specific, or if you really want to focus on product specific content, make sure that you are providing genuine value and that you don't go down the route of just making a sales pitch, because that's what your product page is for. You have other places to do that on your site. But it's I think it's verging on shady to try and rank for a keyword that people are looking for guidance, and just to try and sell at them instead. So that's kind of our approach with the product stuff as well.
Definitely, yeah, for sure. I didn't tell you you'd said the word shady there, reminded me. I didn't tell you that I actually I can't remember what I was searching for, something technical the other day in Google, and I clicked on one of the first results, as you do, and the content on the page was in no way relevant to what I'd searched or the title of the article. And I can't remember why I was, I think I did a search, Command F search on the webpage to find that keyword, because I'm like, it must be way down the page. I can't find it. I did search, and it was there like 10 times on the page, but in white, on a white background.
I'm amazed that's
wow.
I thought all that stuff was like, being picked up on now. Same. I can't believe that.
It was, I mean, I think it must have just been such a niche search, low competition, that it's just serving up the best thing it could find, and there was really nothing for it. And it just showed that. It was, I thought it was absolutely wild. But
well, someone needs to get on that keyword, because that is a massive opportunity.
Yeah,
if that's the,
It's good.
Yeah, so
it's good clarity.
Yeah, sorry, go on.
Yeah, I was just saying, good clarity on that topic. But yeah, in terms of that research, what's your process?
Yeah, so I mean, this is something that we've kind of honed together, but the initial research, starting out with content ideas, you have the option to use a paid tool. That's what we do. Personally, we find that well worth it, and it's really paying off in terms of, as we say, the results that we're seeing with traffic. But if that's not something that you can do, you don't have that option, there are free tools available you can get some information from. I know that Google's keyword planner can be helpful. You can just do research straight on Google, which is going to be a little bit more of a rabbit hole. You're going to have to spend a little bit longer to really find out, through auto suggest and looking at the different options, what kinds of keywords are coming up. So if you can use a paid tool, or even do a couple of free trials and just see if it's worth it for you, then I would definitely suggest that, especially if you don't have a lot of time. But if you don't have that option, there are plenty of other options that are free as well. So you want to initially do your research and just try to go into it quite open, but also always bearing in mind, what is your target market? You want this to actually be content that people who would buy your product would be interested in, even if it's not product specific. And so have a think about that. It might help you to do some kind of like a word map or something to help you to think about what they would care about. And then just start to look into your competitors' sites. So try to find out what pages they are ranking for. You'll be able to find that really easily in any kind of paid tool. But I'm sure there are ways, maybe ways of finding that for free as well. But you should be able to find out, what pages they're ranking for and what those keywords are that they're ranking for. So that'll start to give you an idea. Okay, these are similar brands to me, or this is who I aspire to be like. And actually, they've produced this content, but I think I could create something that would also target that. And I can see that it's quite low difficulty, because if I look at the results that are coming up, then I can see that the quality is not that great across the board. So you can start to try and find some keywords. I would say something to always do. If you have paid tools, you can find out a keyword difficulty score that will be assigned, usually based on the number of backlinks that it's assumed you would need in order to rank on page 1 for that particular keyword. But whether or not you have that option, you can still, I would really strongly recommend that you still do the extra step of making sure that you search for that exact keyword phrase in Google and find out for yourself what comes up on page 1, because you will see a number of different clues that will show you whether or not it's something that's worth going for. So if you are using a paid tool, don't just see, oh, it says it's keyword difficulty 3 out of 100. This is easy. I'm going to easily rank for this. I'll just do this. Go and have a look for yourself. If you see that there are a ton of high profile sites or competitor sites that are way more established than you, and they're a ranking on the first page, it's going to be a bit trickier. But if you see that there are loads of forums, it's people posting on forums like Quora, if it's Pinterest boards, other social media links, Pinterest boards is a very common one for keywords that are good to go for. if it's got people's blogs that they wrote 10 years ago and they've not updated it since. Age is a really important one to look out for, because Google likes to see things that are recently or regularly updated, to make sure that it's good content. If you're finding, for example, domains are ranking on page 1 that are free domains, like it's a Wix site, .wix site or WordPress or whatever, and they've not even paid for their own domain, that tells you that it's a side hobby, and that's not a site that has a lot of authority, and yet still they're getting to page 1. So that's a good keyword to go for. So try to look really closely at what is the competition, and you can do that at just scanning that page 1 without even having to necessarily spend a lot of time going through and reading tons of blogs. You might want to do that at a later stage, but in this initial research stage, I think that would be enough to start to get an idea of which keywords you might want to go for first.
Yeah, I think you're right. You got to look for the clues that Google is giving you, right? Because Google is presenting what it deems as the best results, and so you got to look at the format as well. Again, thinking about search intent, what the user's looking for. If they're asking a question about how to use those makeup brushes, they're probably not looking to buy them straight away. They want to know first how they can use them. They may already have bought them, and so there's a likelihood that the content on page 1 for that search term is going to be article, blog kind of related. And so it is important when you're doing your research, do look at the results there, because if it is a bunch of product pages, then it's unlikely that a blog post, for instance, is going to rank. Whereas if it's all blog pages, it's unlikely that a product page maybe is going to rank. So look for the clues that Google is giving you. But like Claire says, paid tools, is quite similar to when you're selling on Amazon. And, anybody that's listening would know that I'm a big fan of using tools like Helium 10, etc., to speed up your workflow, because time is money and time is irreplaceable money. You can always earn more of. And so it's similar with tools with SEO. The good thing is, you like Claire says, you can use a bunch of different ones. There's SEMrush, or is it SEMrush? I don't know what the pros call it.
I wondered the same. I've said both.
There's Moz, and there's Ahrefs, which is, again, how do you even say that? Why do they have to make it so hard? Good old Moz, keeping it easy for us. But there's also Uber Suggest by Neil Patel. There's loads of these tools that do a very similar thing. We use Ahrefs, and they have a 7-day trial, I think for $1 or $7. Super cheap. And actually, I would recommend, I don't know what you feel, Claire, but I would recommend doing your keyword research in bulk and then forgetting about doing more keyword research. It's very easy. I've found it's like a little hobby now to try and find these keyword opportunities. And you can spend all your time doing that and not creating content. The key to getting some quick momentum, guys, is creating content. And so I would recommend getting one of these tools just for a 7-day trial, 28-day trial, whatever, and do a bulk amount of research. Start putting these search terms in a spreadsheet, put some other info in there in terms of like the estimated volume and the keyword difficulty. Find as many super low competition keywords as you can that you can target, and just start writing content about this stuff, because it's low competition for a reason. You should be able to rank for it quite quickly. And like anything in this business, then taking steps forward is way better than trying to make it perfect. Progress over perfection. And so I would definitely recommend doing that, getting going, and then writing some content, which is the next stage of the process, right? We've talked about topical research, keyword research, how important that is, not just writing about things that you are thinking about one Sunday afternoon, but actually keyword research is the foundation. But then you got to write content around that keyword. So let's talk, Claire, about what makes a good piece of content. The content that we're seeing rank on Google, the articles we're seeing rank, what makes it good? Give us some stuff here. Like, let's start with length of the article. What should people be writing?
Yeah, well, I mean, people will have specific figures that they like to go for. I would say it should, in general, it should easily be over 1,000. Go for length if in doubt, because that's going to show, not only is that going to get people to spend longer on your site, as long as obviously it's high quality content, because there's more for them to explore, but it's going to show Google that you are an authority. It's going to give you more chance to include different keywords and to hit a number of different keywords. So I think one thing that we maybe could have mentioned earlier is that once you've decided on that main keyword that you want to hit, you want to then go back and do some more research to find out what are highly relevant keywords that I can also put in here. So if we go back to the makeup brush thing, let's say it's you want to hit this keyword, can I use dish soap to clean my makeup brushes? That's going to be probably a low keyword difficulty keyword that you could easily hit, and you want to call that your piece of content is going to be called that. That's going to be your focus in the URL, in the back end SEO stuff, in the meta description, all that kind of stuff. But there will be other related keywords that may be specific, maybe the same thing but rephrased. So is it okay to use, or does this work, which is going to be answering the same question. You can also be putting those keywords in there. But there'll be other things that are related as well that you definitely want to get in that same piece of content, because you know that people who are interested in whether or not they can use dish soap are probably also interested in whether or not they can use shampoo. So let's say you then find keywords that say, can I use shampoo? Can I use this? Can I use, which other household ingredients can I use? Or, household cleaning products can I use at home to clean my makeup brushes? What is the best way to clean my makeup brush? And then you may even want to go expand it along and have it linked to other pieces of content that are, how long do I leave it to dry for? What's the best way to dry your makeup brushes after you've washed them, and so on. So make sure you do that research as well to really maximize the opportunity. You have your main keyword that you found, which is a great opportunity that you really want to hit, but there will be a bunch of other relevant keywords that are likely to also be low keyword difficulty because of the nature of the topic, especially with it being usually so niche, that you want to try and include as well. And so that so when we'll be talking about it being several thousand words long, you might think, how can I possibly waffle for that long? You could, but don't waffle for that long. Give them some clear, quick wins. Tell them the answers. Don't hide the answers at the end of a blog post after they've had to read for thousands of words, because people are going to just get annoyed. They'll click out your site, and it'll show Google that people don't like what you put out there. But make sure that you give them those quick wins of, here's the answer, and here's a ton of other stuff that you also really want to know, or here's part of the answer, and now read on to find out more really useful information that you don't want to miss out on. And that's really how you can create a blog post quite easily. Plan out what you're going to include, write it quite quickly with just a little bit of research. You don't have to be a massive expert on the topic, because there's all this wealth of information that's already out there for you. You're just repackaging it in a better way than it has previously been presented. And that's what's going to help you to rank.
Absolutely. And I think you come to a key point there where you're talking about the kind of experience that the user has. We so often try and think of, how can I, especially in the Amazon space, how can I hack this system? How can I game the algorithm? And Google can still be game, as we talked about with that keyword that was hidden on the page before. But on the most part, the Google's algorithms are advancing, getting better all the time. And their chief aim is user experience. And one of the key metrics that will harm you is if someone goes onto your page. There is a term for it, boomerang, banana.
Bounce rate?
Yeah, but like when they go back and forth, pogoing, that's right. Pogoing back and forth. They go to one page and then come back to Google, go to the next page. That's really bad signal for Google, because it shows them that you haven't satisfied the search intent of the user. And so if you try and be spammy and try and save the secret answer till right down the bottom, just so they read to the bottom, that's not going to work. Like, give them the answer they're looking for, but hook them in with other stuff. Have a good, a big part of it is having a good intro. That talks, addresses the pain points of the reader and tells them, hey, we're going to answer this for you, but we're also going to share some great information about this, this, and this. And it gives them a reason to, to keep reading on. So, absolutely. User intent is the key. And as you say, Claire, loads of related keywords to that keyword, but we still do want to target just one specific keyword on the whole, right? We want to make sure that there's a main keyword we're trying to rank for, and the rest are kind of as a bonus. Then also, when it comes to just the singular keyword, is make sure that you don't do multiple posts about the same keyword. We want to make sure that there's one focused page per keyword to show Google this is the one we want to rank for this topic. So
that's right. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing when I'm talking about including different keywords. It's really reflecting the fact that the whole way that Google's algorithm is designed is supposed to understand, as you were saying, what people want. It's incredibly advanced and sophisticated technology that is getting better all the time at learning what people are looking for. And so when you're including a number of different keywords that are other ways of saying the same thing, although you want your main keyword to be in the title, you need to be one of those key areas, and the one you really focus on. That's really it's just showing Google that it's a natural way for you to talk about that topic. I think you can hear a lot about, you need to include these kinds of words to show Google that you're legit. Maybe we overthink some of these things, because really just write good quality content. And if you if you write in a natural way that is informative, you will be writing like a normal, like a person of authority. You will be using the right kinds of words. But it just doesn't hurt to be intentional with, okay, there's a couple of other exact keywords that I can use word for word, that I can make sure I just get in some subheadings, make sure I just put them in somewhere else a little bit. That's going to be an extra thing. So we had one of our top ranking pages is a piece of content, like I shared at the beginning, that we created a couple of months ago, and we had that one keyword, but there are a load of other keywords that we're ranking for now that we're position 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tons on page 1, and that is because
sorry, I thought you'd stop. Sorry, but I think how many we've done, I don't know how many, 20, 30 articles maybe.
About 35, I think.
But ranking for around like 600 different keywords, so it just goes to prove your point. And some of those we're ranking for, I don't know, 20 keywords from just that, whereas our initial intention was just that one. And some of those keywords will be ones that we didn't even know existed. But because we've created a piece of content that's including the right kinds of things, it's sending the right information to Google, we're managing to rank for that. So I think it's just bearing that in mind. But you're right, you don't want to be trying to be spammy with every single keyword under the sun, and you don't want to be too diverse. You need to pick that main keyword that is your absolute focus. Definitely. So where possible, get the keyword as the URL, the slug as it's called. So after the .com/blog/whatever is how to clean makeup brushes, or whatever your example was, and then have that in the title as well. Again, where possible, in exact form. If it doesn't make grammatical sense, don't write something that doesn't make grammatical sense just to satisfy the keyword. Remember, it's about user intent as well. And so, but where you can do that, and then include it in the first paragraph ideally, and also at least one header in the article. So headers, again, something we don't have time to go into this, but like I said, we are working on doing like a full step-by-step process of how we're doing this inside BBU, and we will have a checklist for you which will have some more pointers on it as well. But then the final thing to make sure you include in your content, if you are doing informational content, is to not completely avoid the fact that you're selling products, right? You don't want to just have this content that's completely unrelated. Is actually find ways to weave your content into, if you are selling makeup brushes and you're talking about how to clean them, you could say our makeup brushes have a very cleaning friendly head, whatever, I don't know the example is, but you get my point. Is like, you try and weave that in there, even if it's an article that isn't necessarily a buying intent keyword. Is at the end of the day, you are a business, you do have products for sale, and it isn't there's nothing wrong with weaving that into your articles.
And making sure that people always know what to do next. So this piece of content that I've talked about a couple of times that we're getting a lot of traffic from, what I realized after a couple of months was that wow, this is amazing, we're getting all of these people organically discovering our site. But the bounce rate was pretty high. And it was because when I created it, I didn't put enough thought into what will people do once they have consumed this information. So they were spending time on that page. People were enjoying that page, finding that page, but not then moving on to do other things in our site, and we're kind of losing them. So I would just say as well, once you've created content, make sure that you're keeping an eye on what's happening. Look at the what the figures are telling you, and see how long are people spending reading it. What are they doing next? Are they going anywhere else in the site, or are they just going straight back out to Google because they've got everything that they wanted? People don't just go straight back to Google because they hate what you've put out. They might love it, but if you don't give them somewhere to go next, why would they stay? So what I've had to go back in and do is make sure I've added in some more internal links, that I've got to sign up for our email list, and the lead magnet that we have on offer, and all these different things. So what I would hope and expect now is that that will start to improve, that people will be coming and spending more time and moving on to other sites, parts of the site as well, just so because I've given them that opportunity and that invitation to do that. So that's just something I would say, it's something to keep monitoring, keep an eye on, and make sure that you're capturing people as well, that you're giving them some way to respond that isn't just, oh, well, that was helpful and now I'm going again.
Good. Okay. So the quote unquote perfect blog post is a good length. It doesn't have to be like the longest ever, but it satisfies a search intent and gives a good amount of information for the user. The longer the time they spend on the page, the better. It's good signals for Google.
Yeah.
So, good length, targeting one keyword, a good intro that hooks the reader, a number of different headings that then answer and address different topics that are related to that. Answer the question quickly in the article so that you're not just keeping people hanging on for no reason. Deliver extra value in the article, introduce your products and services, and then always have a call to action. That would be a brief summary. There's so much in there that we don't necessarily have time to go into on a podcast, but just if people want something actionable just to start with. And remember, guys, it's better to implement and then improve later than just try and wait till you got the perfect article.
Yeah, definitely.
We look back at our first stuff now and we think, man, that's crazy how much things have improved since then, but we never would have got to where we are today and really powering on with this if we hadn't taken steps forward. Then when it comes to writing, Claire, like what if people say, I don't have the time? Like first question is, how long is it generally taking you to write this content? And then B, just give us some creative ideas, some of the things you've been doing to also create content that's cut down the amount of time needed to do it.
Yeah, so this kind of the evolution of our content for our shared brand over the last couple of years. Started off just doing everything myself, and we it's very visual. It will obviously depend on what you are offering, but the nature of what we offer is that the content has to be very visual, and a lot of it's instructional, and you kind of need to show people how things look and engage in that way, especially with it being focused around families and children. So initially I was having to create all this content, and I was creating it from scratch, and I was even doing videos and photos, and I am the least qualified person to do photography and videography. I have no clue. I was using like terrible technology, and thankfully, by some miracle, well, it's not miracle, it's SEO. We managed to hit some keywords, and actually some of our videos on YouTube, on our YouTube channel, have managed to get quite a number of views, and we've seen an impact, on our blogs as a result of that. And some of our blogs have started to rank quite well because of that as well. But the quality of it was not great, and it was far and it was not sustainable for me as a business owner. It's not where I needed to be spending my time, and I realized that quite quickly, especially once we actually started to sell products and launch new products. So we kind of moved on from that stage where I started to crowdsource a lot. So I was looking at social media and trying to engage with Instagram accounts who would want to collaborate with us. If you are someone who doesn't have a lot of time, and you feel like I have this startup, I've got no Instagram, I've got no social media following, nobody visits my site, I've got nothing to offer, I haven't got any budget to spend. Don't start messaging people who've got, tens of thousands of followers on Instagram and say, can I, do you want to collaborate with me for basically for backlinks that aren't worth anything? Just go after people. You can find some great content now. People can take such good videos and phones on their videos and pictures on their phones. Go on social media and find some accounts that you think would want to collaborate with you, that may even just be a couple of hundred, but they're people who will be willing, for the exposure that you give them, to collaborate with you and say, look, I love what you're doing, this is who I am, and I want to share what you've got, and do some roundup posts. And use other people's content in a legitimate way where you give them credit. A roundup post, if you hate writing, you don't want to spend hours and hours. Roundup posts are so easy and quick to do. You just need to do a little bit of research. If it's somebody's personal social media account, especially if it involves children or something like that, then I would definitely ask their permission. But either way, we always give credit where we do that. We don't usually reach out to every single website that we reference. That's kind of going to be a big time-consuming thing. And the way I see it is, if you have a blog that is out there on the internet and you clearly want everybody to see it, then you're going to be happy with it anyway. But we credit people, and that's how we kind of moved on from me not having to create all this stuff myself to being able to crowdsource it, and start to do something that's a lot more sustainable. And then we kind of moved on. I think with this keyword strategy just really helped as well, because I began to see more specifically what people were looking for, rather than feeling in the dark a little bit with some of these keywords. And that the more specific you can be, the easier it is to write. And stuff that I think, if you are absolutely not sure where to start, you can do roundup posts, or another great option is to do a really specific answer to a question, something like, can I? Try to find those keywords, because you can Google yourself, can I? Yes, I can. Oh, right. Okay. Well, I'll just write, a little bit about that, and I'll make sure that I add in, like we said, those other pieces of information. Excuse me. So that's kind of the direction that we've gone in, is now to start to create some really some content that's just really quick wins, because we're not having to focus on creating lots of images and videos ourselves from scratch. We can use other people's with their permission, and we can do stuff that I can just use a bunch of stock photos for as well, that is answering questions for people.
That's good. I think there's so many ways that you can speed up the process of writing. Obviously, you could outsource it. There's like iWriter or Pro Blog Writer and Upwork and all that kind of stuff that you could outsource it. But if you do want to be creative with it, I mean, I've seen the websites actually, because we use a service called Haro, Haro, Help a Reporter Out, and to help with getting backlinks, because they will help a reporter out is something where you get people that are looking for a story or an angle or some comments on something, and you are literally helping a reporter out, and you give them your feedback, and if they publish what you've given them in the article, they'll put a link on that article to your website. And I have seen a number of people now build crazy volume using a strategy whereby actually they flipped it on its head. Excuse me, now you got me coughing.
I know.
They're flipping on their head, and they are posting on Haro, because it's free. You don't need to pay anything. You just put on Haro, I'm looking for contributions on XYZ topic. And Claire, I haven't mentioned this to you. We need to do this for our brand as well, is post saying, we're looking for contributors for an article, or please tell us why you think this is the case in this field, your opinions on this matter, whatever the topic may be. And you'll get 20, 30, 40, 50 different submissions of people with a couple of sentences, a couple of paragraphs about why they feel it's the case. And all you need to do then is pick the best ones, assemble them under headlines, link back to those people. And then the added bonus is, when you publish the article, you tell them, hey, we featured your comments in our article, we've linked you in it, and we'd appreciate if you did link back. Not everyone will, but that's going to be some potential backlinks for you then as well. So I think we're going to start to do a bit more of that, because it's such an easy way to create. It won't all be crazy optimized content in the same way maybe we would do a full blog article, but it's just a way to get some volume content out there. So anyway, just a bit of a thought for you, the audience, and for you, Claire, and for me, and we need to be doing some of that. So always learning. There's so much to learn in this industry. It's crazy.
I think just the important thing is, if you're starting out from scratch, is to not feel overwhelmed. There are simple things you can do. There are simple ways to create content that you can do with not very much time, with free stock photos, with just a little bit of research. And the great thing is that now the style of blog writing is very informal. It's very conversational. It's very approachable, and so you can just kind of imagine that you're talking to a friend, and just write, and not worry too much about, you've got free spell checkers like Grammarly, which is super useful. There are so many tools you can use now, that you don't need to feel paralyzed on this, or feel that you have to pay somebody else to do it if that's not an option for you. You can create good content in not that much time, just with a little bit of help and with some free tools and a bit of practice.
Definitely get started. That's the key, isn't it? Improve over time.
Exactly.
Get started. Final thing, very briefly, because obviously time is running on a little bit, but just the final thing, obviously you've got your topical research, you've got the writing of the article, and then when it comes to search engine optimization, there are some things that you can do to optimize the SEO side of it on page. And so let's just briefly talk through a few bits of that. Formatting and how we're writing these articles, again, for us, has been a gradually improving or optimized kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, when we started, we might write these big old paragraphs of content, but now we're really focused on writing short sentences, 2 to 3 sentences in a paragraph at most, because we want to break up the
Yeah.
text. Really, again, thinking about what's the best for the user-friendly experience. Someone comes onto your page and sees a giant wall of text.
Yeah.
Most people are going to tune out, and so we need to make it short sentences, short paragraphs, format text with bold, italics, images as well. Lots of image-rich articles really are going to be key. Hey Claire, and text
Yeah.
formatting, font size, all that kind of stuff. That's something that you do as like a regular thing now, right?
Yeah, and just bear in mind that you can go into Google Analytics or the back end of Shopify or whatever you're using, and find out very quickly how people are viewing your site, if it's on mobile or on desktop. But the chances are it's going to be on mobile most of the time.
Yeah.
And increasingly that's the case. So just bear in mind, what's this experience going to be like for somebody who's looking on a small screen? Even though mobiles are often, in general, getting bigger, and those kinds of devices are getting bigger, it's still going to be a smaller screen. It's going to be squished down a little bit. And so what might seem to you to be a really ridiculously short paragraph will not look ridiculous when you're reading it on mobile. So I think just bear those in mind. And the same thing with font sizes, and the same thing with the number of headings. You might feel like, you have one heading, you have an H1 header at the top, and then you're going to just do a couple of H2. I would say you really want to have as many subheadings as you can to break up and to take people on a journey through that piece of content, especially if it's an especially lengthy one. And I know that with very long guides, which have a huge amount of information in, you want to have a table of contents at the beginning as well, which is something that I think you've been doing maybe, because of the nature of the content that you'd be putting out for BBU is different to what we'd be doing for our shared brand. But so it's not something that I've done, but I know that can be another way of basically just doing whatever you can to help guide people through the piece of content that you've created. Another thing you can do is bridges, where you just have short one sentence or a few words that lead people on to the next section. It can even be something like pretty smart, right? Something that just you think, okay, does that really need to be on a separate line? It's just a visual thing, anchor, that helps people find where they are on a page, and it takes them on to the next bit. You can say, read on more here, whatever it is. But take those opportunities to regularly remember, okay, I'm taking this person on a journey. Here's what we're going to do next. And now check this out and make sure you don't miss this. Whatever you can do to help people engage with it, to not lose their place, to find it very readable, and to feel like they're in a conversation as well, I think is important, because people are more and more getting used to that informal, very conversational tone of voice. And so they're looking for that, and that's what's going to make them feel at ease, rather than, super long words and something that's really quite difficult to get into.
Yeah, and an absolutely essential point you mentioned about mobile. Think through the mobile experience. Sometimes, I was writing stuff thinking, oh, it's only 4 or 5 lines for the paragraph. It's not a crazy long paragraph. But then you look at that on mobile, and it's like 2 whole scrolls of a mobile screen. So, really on a desktop, often a lot of the stuff that I'm doing is like single line, double line at absolute most. Because then when you translate that onto mobile, it's still takes up a good chunk of the screen. So, the more time you can get people to spend on your web pages, the better signals it's going to send to Google, because it's showing Google your content is good. And we've come full circle, right? All the way back around.
Exactly.
Showing people that's the foundations of it is just good content. And the final other couple of things that you should be doing and make sure you are aware of is internal linking, is making sure that you're linking between posts. Again, that's another signal to Google that these topics are related, that you are a growing topical authority on the matter. And so make sure you are linking to relevant posts from within your articles. And also we make it a habit to do 2 or 3 external links out to authoritative websites, again showing Google that you don't think that you have all the answers, but you are pointing to authorities in your niche to show that you are citing credible sources. It helps the trust factor with your website, which is a big thing to really build up over time. So those are some final little things you can do with on-page optimization. There's probably 100 things we haven't covered in this interview so far, but it is nearly an hour already. So we will leave it for there. But like I said, we are going to have a complete checklist. This is going to be a Google Sheet where you can go through and you can check off, setting up your website to be SEO friendly, creating each of the posts to be SEO friendly, from your title to your meta description to your, H1, H2, H3s. And if you don't know what any of those are, that's why you need to get this checklist, because it'll explain it for you. And we are also working on a complete step-by-step course inside of BBU. So keep an eye out for that. Claire, thanks so much for coming on and helping
It's
me.
been fun. Thank you.
Making sure this wasn't a complete monologue, and kind of sharing your insight. It's been fun, this journey. And I don't know about you, but I'm super excited to see where this compounding effect of SEO takes us over the next few years.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome. Well, guys, thanks for joining us on this episode today. Grab all of the stuff I talked about in the description below, and we'll see you in the next episode real soon.